Ready? 1, 2, 3.
One of the most widely debated topics in the world of sports is whether or not collegiate student athletes should be paid. When you look into the facts and technical aspects of how this would not work, it is clear there is no financially feasible or fair way that this can be done. One of the most appealing aspects of collegiate sports is that student athletes play for school pride and the passion of the sport. Fans love that athletes are not paying for money, as in professional sports, where the size of a player's contract is often more important to him than his team. Bringing contracts into college sports would likely cheapen the sport from the fans' perspective. For those who would argue that student athletes are not able to work jobs to earn extra money due to time requirements, many other students spend just as much time on non-athletic events, such as Greek functions, academic-related competitions, and various student clubs and organizations. These students also do not have enough time to work to earn money should they get paid as well. Where would the line be drawn in paying student athletes? Would it only apply to collegiate student athletes? Many could make the same arguments to high school student athletes as well. Should they be paid also? Many student athletes receive scholarships to cover the cost of tuition. As written in Time Money magazine in 2016, in-state tuition costs an average of $13,000 per year, but most schools recruit a large portion of their athletes from out of state. The same study found that a full athletic scholarship out of state can cost upwards of $65,000 per year at an NCAA Division I school. These scholarships also serve to benefit these student athletes for the rest of their lives outside of athletics. Many of these young women come from low-income families who otherwise would not be able to afford to send their children to college without the help of athletic scholarships. A college degree is often worth far more than just the total amount of expenses. A 2011 study conducted by Georgetown University found that college graduates made on average of $1 million more over their lifetime. In addition to tuition expenses, student athletes also receive many other benefits, such as food prepared by professional chefs, access to personal training, academic tutoring, clothing from sponsors, state-of-the-art facilities, and housing, which is often much nicer than the housing offered for other students. So how much extra would it cost to pay collegiate athletes? This depends on exactly how much the athletes would be compensated, and if the pay would be even across the board for all players in sports, or if it would be scaled based on the sport or the team. According to a 2016 article published by U.S. News and World Report, the typical living cost for a full-time student athlete to attend college during the 2016-2017 academic year ranges from $11,800 on a low budget to $17,600 on a moderate spending plan. The NCAA's own website reports having more than 460,000 total student athletes competing in 24 official sports. Assuming that these 460,000 student athletes are all paid based on the low budget amount of $11,800, the total cost would be $55.43 billion. Where would all this extra money come from? Let's start by looking at the financial state of college athletic departments. How many athletic departments across the country are actually profitable? The NCAA reported that only 24 FBS schools generated more income than expenses in 2014. On average, these 24 schools turned a profit of $6 million in revenue. This may seem like a lot of money, but it is still not enough to cover the cost of paying the players for their schools. How many sports are actually profitable in these programs? In most cases, only football, basketball, and sometimes baseball turn a profit for their athletic departments. These few sports then fund the rest of the sports in the athletic department. Rather than generating profits, most schools actually find themselves in the red overall annually. In 2014, the NCAA reported that more than half of the FBS schools spent an average of $14.7 million just to keep their athletic department operating. These schools would not be able to pay student athletes for any sport. They would most likely be forced to greatly increase ticket prices or tuition costs, or either shut their athletic departments down altogether. Even if athletic departments were able to pay their student athletes, there are many additional complicated factors to consider. For instance, would non-scholarship or backup players be paid, or would they be paid at a different rate? Would players be paid the same across the board, across different sports and teams, even the teams and programs who do not turn a profit? Most of these players spend the same amount of time and effort on academics and athletic events. Paying players would not solve the issue of illegally paying the athletes either. Paying athletes under the table or giving athletes illegal benefits would still continue, as programs will still look to gain any advantage on their competition and break the new rules. There is also the issue of maturity and responsibility. Many student athletes are often not responsible enough to handle large amounts of money. With the amount of trouble that collegiate athletes get into on a regular basis, giving them large sums of money would only add fuel to the fire and make it that much worse. In closing, it is simply not financially possible to pay student athletes. A debt-free collegiate education through athletic scholarships is a fair and valuable form of compensation for paying student athletes.